Hey everyone, Scott here to discuss The Wiz, starring Diana Ross, Michael Jackson, Nipsey Russell, Ted Ross, and Ted Richard Pryor, directed by Sidney Lumet. Now, I have never seen this movie before, so let's just jump straight to it. It's Thanksgiving in Dorothy's aunt. It's Thanksgiving in New York City, and Dorothy's Aunt Em and Uncle Henry's house in New York City as Dorothy, played by Diana Ross, is a 24-year-old shy teacher, in which I don't buy that. And the family comes by for Thanksgiving dinner with the snow coming down while Dorothy helps take care of a baby, as well as Toto the dog, which feels like a miscasting on director Sidney Lumet's part, as the song is not as very catchy in this opening sequence, and Dorothy walks out of the dinner table and sings herself a song that is not somewhere over the rainbow. And as for the songs, they're fine, but they're not as catchy as some of the 1939 movie, which feels like a real shame. Thanksgiving dinner is over as Aunt Em advising Dorothy to teach high school students instead of kindergarten kids, in which Dorothy doesn't want to be. But she tries to talk her into it as Dorothy opens the door and Toto runs out the door and gets into the snow and finds themselves in a fantasy land called Oz. Thanks to a snow twister led by Glinda the. No, it's not Glinda the Good, but. Anyways. And does this make sense? Not at all, as this is a stupid, incoherent mess. So far. While Dorothy killed the Wicked Witch from the East without realizing it and ended like in the original movie, or not in the original, but 1939 film, and ended the curse of the Cursi, which are supposed to be the Munchkins, and is greeted by Miss One, whom gives Dorothy the East shoes while she wants to go home. And Miss One tells her to not take off the shoes until she got home, and asks the Wiz, played by later on by Richard Pryor, to bring her home. And this is already so bad enough as that is. After the Cursies sing about the meeting the Wiz, Dorothy goes on her way to see the Wiz in Emerald City and follows the yellow brick road. And as she sings about it, how she's not sure if she knows where to go, and gets a move on as the performances are terrible and the cinematography is ugly, as this is an ugly looking movie that feels weird, as the best thing about it is the choreography. Some crows pick on the scarecrow, played by Michael Jackson, and take advantage of him to keep him stuck on a pole, and sings a crow anthem until Dorothy helps him down and scares off the crows. Despite Michael Jackson can't sing, and his performance is terrible, as well as Dorothy helps Scarecrow up and walking as she takes him to the Wiz to get a brain. And this makes me think of bathroom humor. When they say the Wiz, I can't help but think of that. I don't know why. It's so weird. Which isn't appropriate for this review, as they continue to go up to the yellow brick road. And this thing is terribly edited. Like, what took Dorothy so long into finding the yellow brick road is beyond me. But they do eventually find the yellow brick road. Dorothy and Scarecrow go through the yellow brick road with Toto and find the Tin Man, played by Nipsey Russell, stuck on the ground. And Dorothy and Scarecrow get Tin Man out of the ground, and they want the Wiz to give him a heart. And the production design and set decoration was good, but not great in my opinion, as the writing in this isn't original. And if it were me, go back and watch the 1939 movie, as this isn't as satisfying as that is. And the songs, like I said, are not catchy enough. Dorothy, Scarecrow, Tin Man, and Toto continue through the yellow brick road until they encounter the Lion, played by Ted Ross, as he breaks out of a statue. And this feels too safe for kids when attacking people, as the Wizard of Oz pulled off some scary stuff in particular situations. But here, it plays it too safe, and the Lion is cowardly, like in the 1939 movie, as Toto bites his foot and he confesses he has no courage whatsoever. And they want to take him to the Wiz for courage. And is this whole act about setting up the rest of the characters? Because it sure feels like it. After learning Lion's name is Fleetwood Coupe de Ville, they get attacked by some balloon-looking creatures, as the Lion frees them at one point, and a couple of trash cans try to eat up the Scarecrow, which looks plain old silly Tin Man almost gets electrocuted, and Lion saves everyone, and Dorothy gets attacked by some things that looks like a support beam to a train station they're at, and nothing happens to Toto, which feels convenient, and we move on to them going to some dancers as Dorothy, Toto, and Lion fall asleep as they wake up by crying and of the Tin Man. And what was the point of that scene? As this is a little too long of a movie, as this could have been in the editing room floor. Dorothy sings about the lion being brave and standing strong and tall, as she wants him to be a lion, and these actors can sing, but the material was just poorly put together by director Sidney Lumet. While they go back to the Yellow Brick Road and get to Emerald City, and guards being a little too harsh until one sees Dorothy's shoes and welcomes them inside the Emerald City. And they sing about being green, which feels a little weird, as I guess that's his color, until he switches it to red and eventually yellow, while they dance, which to me is absolutely weird, as this is a weird movie, and the dancing on different colors could have been edited down as well. They find Dorothy with the slippers, and she comes straight to the Wiz, and the Scarecrow, with him, with the Scarecrow, Tin Man, Lion, and Toto, and he says forget them, and she decides to not come up with, and eventually they go up with her, demanding if they can get there and speak with the Wiz, as he looks scary, but come on, he's a fraud. As they ask for the Scarecrow's brain, Tin Man's heart, and Lion's courage, and Dorothy just wants to go home, and he wants the shoes, and he demands for Dorothy to kill the Wicked Witch of the West named Eveline. And why is this taking too long is beyond me. Like, this is such a long movie, guys. Come on. Dorothy decides to go to Eveline and takes Toto, Scarecrow, Tin Man, and Lion with her, as we get to her singing about nobody bringing her no bad news to her, which was fine but not catchy enough in my opinion, as she makes her workers work with no lunch and sends her flying monkeys into the room to get Dorothy and her friends, and she finishes her song as the flying monkeys catch them and bring them to Eveline. And I guess I like the setup of that scene, as it kind of works. When Dorothy, Toto, and Scarecrow, Tin Man, and Lion meet Eveline, thanks to the flying monkeys bringing them to her, as she wants her shoes but can't get them off of Dorothy while torturing Scarecrow, Tin Man, Lion, and Toto, she asks Dorothy to take off the shoes, but she can't because the fire and causes the fire alarm to go off, and she's allergic to water, like in the 1939 film, because it makes her melt. And they get Dorothy's friends down, and everybody is happy because the Wicked Witches of the East and West, aka Eveline, are dead, and dance and sing about it and take off their uniforms from Eveline, which felt pretentious as they burn off the clothes and continuously dance. And I'm like, I get it. They're happy Eveline is dead. And some of this could have been edited down, in my opinion. The flying monkeys bringing Dorothy, Scarecrow, Tin Man, and Lion back to the Wiz, and they get to him with the machine falling down, and they learn he's a fraud. Of course he's a stinking fraud. He says he's from New Jersey, and come on, if you know the story, you know the Wiz is a fraud, as you've seen it in the previous movies. It's that obvious. And he explains he came from a balloon from New Jersey to Oz, as Dorothy will never get back to New York, and while Scarecrow will never get his brain, Tin Man will never get his heart, and Lion his courage, as Dorothy explains how they already have them to begin with, and she says all they have to do is believe, which is super obvious. It's not funny. Eventually, Glinda, the Good Witch of the South, comes in and tells Dorothy his home is in her, which doesn't make much sense, and all she has to do is to believe. And she's home, and Glinda sings about it and says, click her heels 3 times while believing it. And she does, but first she says goodbye to her friends and tells her how much she'll miss them. And she gets back home and with Toto and Aunt Em and Uncle Henry back in New York. And the climax was predictable. And if you've seen The Wizard of Oz from 1939 so many times like I have, then you know how bad of a pale imitation it is, which makes this a bad movie, but how bad was it? Let's talk about it. I'll give this movie a 3.1 out of 10. I didn't buy Diana Ross as a 25-year-old shy teacher whatsoever, and that felt like a miscast on director Sidney Lumet's part. And most of the songs are not as catchy as in the 1939 movie, which feels like a real shame. And this movie makes no sense at all and is a stupid, incoherent mess. And this is bad enough as it is. The performances are terrible. The cinematography looks ugly, as this is an ugly looking movie that feels weird, as the best thing about it is the stage choreography. While this is terribly edited, as it's too long enough for a movie filled with things that can scare young children, and the production design and set decoration was good but not great, and the writing in this is not original, and if it were me, I would go back to the 1939 movie, as this isn't as satisfying as that is. The Wizard of Oz pulls off scary stuff, but here it plays it too safe. And the second act is all about the characters joining Dorothy and to come to Emerald City and to see The Wiz. And this is a non-recommendation for this movie, as some of the scenes could be in the editing room floor, as I didn't like the movie for how weird this version of The Wizard of Oz looked, in my opinion, which is one I would advise anyone to watch whatsoever. I would not advise anybody to watch whatsoever, because it's pretty bad, as it feels like a weird movie. So I'd like to thank you guys for joining me, and next time we'll be back with Return to Oz. And until then, ding dong, the witch is dead.